resource. I mean, you own a piece of land, you drill a well and you own that basically. I mean, you have total control over it. And it's the invisible resource. And anything that is not visible is very difficult to be managed properly. And we all know that it's a vital and natural renewable resource. And it serves as the primary source of drinking water, mostly in the developing world. And if you look at this liquid freshwater available globally, groundwater itself accounts for as much as 99%. So we must protect it properly. Globally, there are 2.5 billion people still using groundwater to meet their drinking water requirements. And it provides all the ecosystem services. It provides societies with social, economic and environmental benefits. And it has played a pivotal role in the fight against poverty, the water and food security. We all know that how the use of groundwater, especially in the northern states in Gujarat, sorry, not in Gujarat, but in Punjab, Haryana and Western UP, how it led to this food security of the nation. And we must manage this resource judiciously to attain most of the sustainable development goals. But there is a negative side also. If it is not used properly, there can be adverse impact on both the quality as well as the quantity. I mean, it can lead to groundwater decline, and overextraction of groundwater can also have adverse impact on the quality. I mean, most of this groundwater contamination that is taking place in Punjab is because of the overextraction basically. For instance, uranium. I mean, the groundwater development to the tune of 200% in Punjab has led to a condition wherein this uranium in the aquifer is getting leached. That is the problem we are having in Punjab. Similarly, it has been witnessed in other parts also. Now, among these groundwater quality problems, that is the geogenic problems, fluoride and arsenic, they are the most, I think, widely seen contaminants. And globally, as many as 100 countries are affected by fluoride contamination. I mean, when this fluoride concentration is less than 1.5 mg per liter. If you look at this distribution globally, you can see here that almost all the continents are affected by fluoride contamination. It is worst in this Africa, both in northern as well as southern America, then this Europe, then Asia, and also in Australia. And if you look at the occurrences in different geological formations, it is mostly seen in metamorphic and plutonic terrain as well as in sedimentary terrain. So wherever we have all these rock types, I mean, we have these fluoride problems. Now, if you look at the scenario in different continents, I mean, Asia, as many as 28 countries are having this fluoride problem, and in Europe, 25 countries. And if you look at this picture in Asia, India is the worst affected, followed by China and Pakistan. I mean, India is ranked number 1 as far as the fluoride problem in groundwater is concerned. Now, if you look at this national scenario, you can see that Rajasthan is worst affected. Then you have a lot of cases in the southern part, then Gujarat, parts of Odisha, also in Chhattisgarh, then Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh, all these areas. And these are basically the areas where we have mostly these metamorphics as well as sedimentary formations. And as many as 20 states and more than 220 districts are having this fluoride problem. Now, if you look at this national scenario, you can see that as many as 3,000 habitations in Rajasthan are affected, and followed next by Bihar and Madhya Pradesh, and there is not much a problem in Maharashtra. Of course, there are 29 habitations having this fluoride problem. So where from we get this fluoride? It can be anthropogenic because of this application of fertilizers. It can come from drugs, cosmetics and food items, and it can come from industrial emission also, anthropogenic sources. But geogenic sources, they account for as many as 85% of this fluoride problem. And wherever you have this fluoride-bearing minerals like biotite, then you have hornblende, fluorine, then you have fluoride-bearing rocks like basalts, gneisses, shales, you can have this fluoride problem. So it is not just the anthropogenic, but 85% of the cases are from geogenic problems. And it is basically the rock water interactions. I mean, you know that the groundwater is in constant circulation. So under certain conditions, the fluoride bearing minerals can get leached and it can exceed this WHO limit also, and then you have a big problem of getting water with more than 1.5 mg per liter. So this is the kind of situation you see, skeletal fluorosis. But it takes place mostly when the fluoride concentration exceeds something like 4 to 5 mg per liter, and there is prolonged use of that high concentration of fluoride. And this is case of dental fluorosis. It is most prevalent even when it is something like 1.5 or 2 or 3 mg per liter, you get this dental fluorosis. So what are the treatment options? You need to take care of this elevated fluoride concentration, and pump and treat. It is the most widely practiced treatment method, and but of course there can be some operation and maintenance problems when there is not proper hand holding, especially those who are managing the plants. And we all are aware that Niri was a pioneer in this pump and treat method, having this Nalgonda technique way back in 1961. And even now, it forms part of the community medicine curriculum in many MBBS courses. And then we have this electrolytic defluoridation, maybe in 2002 or 2003, Dr. Khadse can correct me. And we have as many as 300 EDA plants installed in the country with Niri's technical advice. And of course, Niri has transferred the technology to many private parties. Then the next is the Insitu dilution. This is something that is not widely practiced because of different reasons. And it is where you basically take intervention at the source itself through this managed aquifer research. And there have been very limited efforts in this Insitu dilution. Maybe there was an attempt by our sister lab CSR NGRA way back in 2002 to 2007 in the 10th plant. That was at Velapalli in Nalgonda district. That was one attempt. Prior to that, there was some attempt by NGRA using this research that was in Rajasthan. That was before 2010. And it is being advocated by many NGOs, and there are some, what you can say, limited attempts. Only with the premise that you recharge, there will be dilution of the fluoride. That is the thinking. But and most of these exercises have been done with very scant scientific data, and they are not being documented properly. There is no scientific documentation of such exercises. And the big challenge in in situ dilution is basically, we all know that groundwater is first of all invasive. So the main thing is you first need to identify the aquifer, either do some drilling or you do some geophysical sounding. The next thing is you look for the particular strata in the aquifer which may be leading to this elevated fluoride concentration. These are the two big challenges. But the bigger challenge is the area where you want to deploy this, it should have normal rainfall, something like 700 to 1000 mm. Rainfall has to be there, normal rainfall. If there is no rainfall or if there is very little rainfall, then this option is ruled out. The next challenge is you must have suitable structures to arrest the precipitation and the runoff basically. That is another criteria. You need to arrest that runoff. And most importantly, there should be sufficient space in the aquifer to be amenable for recharge. If there is sufficient space in the aquifer, if it is desaturated, then it can be amenable for recharge. For instance, many people say that go for recharge randomly. But suppose in the post-monsoon season, the groundwater level is say something like 2 to 3 meter below ground level. If there is additional recharge, it will lead to kind of water loss. So one should not practice it blindly. I mean, proper monitoring has to be there, proper scientific data has to be there. The site-specific conditions are extremely important before you go for any kind of managed aquifer recharge. So for this, we have considered a site in Chindwara district, Shivlandhana village, and this village was selected after discussions with the PhD department, and after detailed discussions we zeroed it on this particular village, which is something like probably 120 or 130 kilometers from Nagpur. And we all know that the top geological formation is basalt, that is known to us. And we all know that central India, most of the area is covered with basalts. The village is dependent on groundwater. There is no piped water supply at that point of time. Then approximately 500 population, one school with almost 100 children, and there is dental fluorosis present among the school children. So this is why this particular village was considered. And you can see that this is dental fluorosis noticed among many school children. So when you do any kind of research, we must have a very systematic workflow. First and foremost, you go for a systematic well inventarization. You consider all the wells, hand pumps, which is the open wells which takes the top aquifer, then the bore wells. So you do a systematic well inventarization, then go for a detailed hydrogeological survey. So in this, you go for the water level measurement, then collect groundwater samples and analyze for all these major physico-chemical parameters and the fluoride concentration. So apart from this normal hydrogeological measurements, we also did this infiltration measurement, because we are going for recharge. That recharge can be done either through surface flooding or it can be done through deep well injections. So that is why we carried out this infiltration measurement to see the infiltration potential in the soil medium. We also did this borehole logging, the temperature logging and the conductivity logging, and we also did the drilling. The purpose of this drilling activity and the borehole logging was basically to look for the contact between the basalts, the overlying basalts, and the underlying granitic, because the underlying granitic is the source rock for elevated fluoride concentration. So we did all these detailed hydrogeological survey. Then, Then this analysis of meteorological data for estimation of harvesting potential. There is a fluoride problem that is established from your scientific studies, but how to go for the research. You need to look into all this meteorological data, this rainfall pattern, that is the important thing. How much of rainfall can be arrested for this research, that is number 2. Then, is the aquifer having sufficient space to accommodate additional research? That is another aspect. So, one has to first look for this problem. If you solve the problem, part of this problem is over. Then for this problem to be solved, you need to look into all these aspects. And once you establish that the aquifer has got certain potential and it can meet that additional water can be made from this local meteorological conditions, then we can go for this design and installation of the recharge system. And once this installation of the recharge system is in place, one can go for this post-project monitoring to see whether this implementation of the recharge is having some positive outcome on the fluoride concentration. So this is You can see it here that the India Mark II hand pump, we have dismantled it so that we can do some temperature and conductivity logging, and apart from that we can do scanning through a borehole camera to see the presence of any fractures. Because these are hard rock provinces and the research can only take place if there are proper fractures within those formations. You can see it here that, this is the village. Here there is a kind of higher topography, it acts as a surface of the divide. And groundwater flow, basically it follows the topography. You can see it here that groundwater flow direction is like this. Here also it is like this. And you have all these 12 groundwater sources, and this is the HD5. This is the well that is present in the school premises and which is used by the school children. So you can see that groundwater flow from here to here towards the school, and here from towards the school. We have groundwater flowing towards the school and from both the directions. And we have collected this water level and done the analysis for 3 seasons basically. And you can see here that water level, more than 35 to 41 meter here. This is that problematic well near the school where the water level is more than 10 meter at that particular time. And this flow direction is here and it is flows like this. So now if we look at this fluoride concentration in the wells, out of all the 12 wells, you can see that in certain wells it is from less than 1 mg per liter. But this HT4, 5, 7, 8 and 10, these are the wells where the fluoride concentration is more than 1.5 mg per liter, and it goes right up to something like 6.5 mg per liter. So this is in that range, and all these 4 to 5 wells. So then out of all those 12 wells, we have zeroed in on the 4 wells, 4, 5, 8 and 19, and we dismantled the wells and did the mapping using the borehole camera, when we could see that there are fractures at different depth. And basically these fractures are very important because if any recharge has to be planned, basically the objective should be to leave the water at those fractures basically. And you can see that here there are major fractures at this depth, 64.1 meter. Then we have considered this HD5 as our target well for recharge. And this is the main reason because HD5 is located in the school premises and it has got higher fluoride, something like 3 to 6.5 mg per liter, and it is being used as drinking water by the school children. So we wanted to have this as our target well for recharge. And when we did this conductivity and temperature logging in those wells, you can see that at this depth, like 64, 65 meter, there is change in the slope of this temperature. Overlying basalts, then granitic formations, and they have 2 different mineralogical composition. Probably that is giving rise to this change in slope. When we have mapped this the temperature, and this is the inferred contact between the basalts and the granite. Then we have attempted this infiltration measurement using this double ring infiltrometer. Recharge can take place through surface spreading or it can take place through well injection. If surface spreading has to be attempted, then it should have sufficient infiltration potential. And we did this double infiltrometer test, and you can see it here that this final infiltration is something like 0.2 centimeter per hour. It is in that low infiltration category. That is why I did not go for this infiltration by surface spreading, and recharge is recommended through deep borehole. This is the drilling activity. We have drilled right up to 110 meter. It has many objectives. One is to collect samples and map the fractures, to see the contact between the basalts and the underlying granite, Then to get the Aquifer parameters through pumping test. So all these activities were done through drilling. And after collecting all the data, this is this tentative layout for this recharge. You can see here that there are 8 different blocks within the school. This is one block basically, 8 different rooms. And this rooftop inverter is collected and brought to this recharge well. Here rooftop inverter is collected and brought to this recharge well. So two recharge wells. And this is the problematic well, that is ST5, which is used by the school children. And based on the drilling and this borehole logging, we know that this contact between this overlying basalt and the granitic is at something like 65 meters. So recharge well, we have given blank pipe up to, sorry, this is 65 meters, and the slotted pipe after 65 meters. So the idea is, whatever fresh water is collected at the recharge pit, that should get into this recharge well, not through the granitic basalts, but through the granitic formations. So the entire fresh water goes to the underlying granitic formations. This is extremely important because our total available roof area is 520 square meter. Based on the rainfall pattern, that is something like 700 to 800 mm, and the rainfall coefficient, this much water can be collected in a year, 369 cubic meter per year. Yeah. Then the next thing is, do we have enough space in our aquifer? Based on this cone of influence, it is 368 cubic meter per year. So they are almost matching basically. That was one positive point. What is equally important is the peak intensity rainfall for 15 minutes is 8.21 cubic meter. So whatever recharge pit has to be designed, it must be of this volume so that if there is peak rainfall for 15 minutes, it will be able to capture that much runoff. So this is basically we are getting into this recharge pit, and this is this recharge well. And here you can see this rain. It has been collected at this recharge pit of 8.2 cubic meter. Here also it is getting collected at this recharge pit. Then finally it goes to this recharge wells 1 and 2, which is having 65 meter of blank pipe followed by
60 meter.
Another 45 meter of slotted pipe. So straight away it is getting into the granitic formations. This is our ST5 well. So any recharge that takes place through this RW1 and RW2 will lead to some dilution in this SD5. So after this installation, one need to see what is the efficacy of this system. So the project came to end on 31st of March 2017. We continued with this post-project monitoring for almost 2.5 years. And you can see it here that this fluoride concentration, which used to be earlier something like 5 mg per liter, it varied between 3.5 to 6.5. It has come down to less than 1 mg per liter. This is at that problematic well, and this is at these 2 newly constructed recharge wells. It is all less than 1 mg per liter. So what we have seen is, this systematic study has led to a recharge scheme wherein from 3 to 6.4 mg per liter, we are able to bring down to less than 1 mg per liter, and which benefited as many as 100 school children and something like 400 to 500 villages. But at the same time, periodic maintenance was done by our NERI team with the help of these villagers. And once we are sure about the success, then we decided to hand over the scheme to the school management in 2021. And such model can be replicated in similar geological environments, but there is a caveat that we must know that each site is unique.
That is very important.
And whatever action plan you need to do, it should take into account the rainfall pattern, the specific hydrogeological conditions, the fluoride concentration and desaturation extent in the aquifer. In our case, everything was favorable. The fluoride concentration was not like, it was not in double digit, something like 3.5 to 5.56. We had sufficient rooftop area close to that, so it was easier to handle. Then the school was willing to cooperate because it was used for the school children. We had sufficient desaturation extent in the aquifer because the post-monsoon water level was something like 26-27 meter below ground level. So there was sufficient desaturation available in the aquifer. So because of such circumstances, this scheme really worked. So, and we got very good support from CSIR. Professor Maisalkar himself was in that monitoring committee. I think he is absent today.
Today is busy.
So with all this support, we are able to get success. And thank you. But a lot of players in this entire exercise. Our clean water team. Then Dr. Pawan was that time our head and he was closely monitoring it. Lot of support we got. Then Dr. Padmakar, then our students Rafat, Ramesh, Janipada, Balwan, Chakran, Dr. Deshpande and others. And Dr. Reddy from NGRI, he was kind enough to use the borehole camera for the logging and fractures mapping. And all the civil work was done by Srishti Sabha. Thank you. If there are any questions by the students. Please.
Hello.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Pujari, for very well great presentation. And we got so many new things to learn for us. And just open up the forum for the questions and answers. I'm sure there will be some questions and answers, questions in the young audience specifically.
Hello.
So, do we have questions from the audience? Dr. Pujari will be pleased to answer. Yeah.
First of all, great presentation, sir. Thank you so much for the information. My question is more of a concern because you are talking about the favorability of the study. Favorability of it because we need to have sufficient rainfall.
Yes.
So, if there are so many in India where there is very less rainfall and people have problem with the drinking water scarcity is also there, and even if there is high fluoride content, they have to drink it. So, what can be done in future, like any advancement, so that there is scarcity of water as well as we can come up with some ideas or some new technology for this fluoride dilution?
Yeah, this is relevant. First of all, if rainfall is not favorable, then probably pump and treat is the better option. That is, if you go by that concept. But at the same time, there are many places, especially I have seen in Maharashtra, even in Ahmednagar district, Hivri Bazar, rainfall is something like 400 or 500 mm. It has never exceeded 500 mm in Hivri Bazar. But thanks to excellent soil water conservation measures in Hivri Bazar, water is not a problem for them. Yes, if excellent soil conservation measures have been taken and there is a lot of public participation to manage this thing, probably it can work there also. But at the same time, I mean, whatever volume is available, it has its own limitation. For instance, in our case, it was something like 4 to 5 mg per liter. Had it been 44 mg per liter like Rajasthan, probably it would not have been possible. So that is why I say that, I mean, each site is unique and you need to take into account. For instance, in our case, we had that much of rooftop area available, and the aquifer, the water level was something at 27 meter below the ground level. So sufficient space was available to accommodate the surplus water. If it is, say, suppose post-monsoon, your water level is at 3 meter below ground level. Additional water you take, it will lead to waterlogging situation. That is not acceptable. So one need to consider all these site-specific factors.
Yeah. Any other question from anyone? Yeah.
Good evening, sir.
Yes,
First
please.
of all, thank you for a nice presentation. Sir, I would like to ask just one, rather clarify. There is an area in Chandrapur district, just about 200 kilometers from here, Koraknath Tehsil. There this concentration of fluoride is about 1 to 2 ppm or maybe about 3 ppm at some places. Has anything been done in that area? It's just not far from Nagpur. Chandrapur, particularly Koraknath Tehsil, and it's some 2 to 3 villages. I'm not recollecting their name, but they are just hardly 5 to 10 kilometers from Koraknath, which is a Tehsil place.
See, there are lot of places where artificial recharge can be used for this, especially as you said, it is something like 2 to 3 mg per liter.
Yeah.
It can be done. But the other thing is, I mean, in states like Maharashtra, where it is a mostly urbanized state, and the government is using piped water supply also. So many people don't go for that. But coming to this technology, probably for such cases where it is less than 3 mg per liter, it should work. In fact, this based on our experience, we wanted to, get it implemented at some area in Uttar Pradesh, Sonbhadra district, basically. And there also we said that it can be implemented, but somehow hand-holding is necessary. If you want to, but research institute like NERI, we cannot be stationed at the site of implementation 24/7. But if any NGO, civil society is involved, probably they can reach out and convince the public in a much better way. So this is why for that study in Sonbhadra district, we have basically tied up with the development alternatives and Delhi-based
We had to go for the surface water. We had to go for surface water in these villages, and that was a bit costlier. For water supply, to fetch the water, we had to go for surface water, which was a bit costlier because we had to go at say about 10 kilometers. There was this Painanga river. We had to bring it then surface water, built a water treatment plant, and for such small villages, it's not feasible, and they cannot pay for it. This was surface water and treatment purposes of it. If such type of this dilution that can be taken up, maybe it's possible. And there were some cases of defluorescence, this dental and this skeletal fluorosis that there were there in the village itself. Which were
I think there it is mostly, I think in this. I think actually it is in the Kadapa basically. The source is Kadapa.
Entire, even if you take Koraknath, Jyoti or Bhadravati, Varora, Chimur, almost entire district is affected because of the fluoride concentration more than permissible limit in groundwater. But occurrence of fluoride in groundwater occurs in deep tube well or bore well, not in dug well. And my 30 years of experience in this field says that at least nature has created at least one safe source. And dug wells are not having, in most of the area, dug wells, which are shallow, about 50 feet or 40 feet, they are safe. And fluoride content is less than 1 ppm or so. And fluoridated water should not be used for drinking and cooking purpose, but for other designated use, this can be very well used. If this awareness is created among the public, what should be done if fluoride concentration is more, and how fluoridated source can be used for drinking and cooking purpose, and other fluoridated water can be used for other designated purpose, this can be resolved. This is I think.
These people, sir, from these villages, they are not that well educated, and hence these cases were observed. This dental and the severity was.
As the dug wells are not well maintained and there is microbial contamination, because of that people shifted to deep aquifer. As the deep aquifer, assuming that these are